So we have been engaging with government all that time.
Okay, that is a great one. And looking at IMF, we begin with the International Monetary Fund that has actually reached an agreement with Uganda, giving it $1 billion as a financial package. And among this, the authorities actually reform program aims at tackling the near-term impact of COVID-19 and helping Uganda recover by safeguarding macroeconomic stability. Another objective is the key policy action under the program include a prudent fiscal policy that, like you said, that creates space for needed social investment. Another is the staff level agreement. This staff level agreement actually is on approval of IMF Executive Board consideration, which is expected coming in actually next week, in the coming weeks.
Okay.
So do you think this COVID-19, especially in the situation we are in, the $1 billion fund given, is going to be considerate or considerably distributed among the economy, or how do you even advise?
Okay, and maybe Rita, maybe it's an issue of semantics, but you know words also matter. IMF hasn't given. IMF has lent us. It's a loan. And maybe what I need to clearly point out about this loan, it's $1 billion over a number of tranches, because the first tranche is around $238 or $50 million immediately. We are going to access that, and the rest will be given out, will be provided in tranches. But what is clear, it's a loan, and this loan is for 10 years. 10 years, and we pay back. Okay. So for me, what I want to tell Ugandans, that this is money which has lent to Uganda to be used for those specific purposes, but to be paid back 10 years. Because you see, IMF has been lending us money for 30 years, but now this is 10 years. And why I'm emphasizing the issue of 10 years is that we need to be prudent in the way we are going to use this money. We have to use the money prudently, because already we are indebted. Uganda's debt is in trillions, 68 trillions, more than that, more than 60 trillion. So we are just adding on, So
you're saying that we are actually adding on to the public debt?
We are adding on to the public debt. But what's different with this $1 billion is that it's 10 years. We start repaying, we repay back that money. And that's a very, very short time. So
the 10 years is a short time according to you?
Yeah, it is. Because depending on the loans we have been getting from IMF, you can't compare 10 years to 30 years. At least 30 years, you put your house in order.
Why do you think this time it's 10 years, not 30?
It depends on the facility where we have received that money, because it's immediate. That's why we can be able to even get it. You can get, the first tranche immediately. So IMF has different facilities, some of them 10 years, some of them 30 years, so the grace period is almost not there. So it's important then that Ugandans realize that government realizes that this is not free money given by IMF.
When actually, Madam Jane, when actually government is reporting about it, it's like a fund.
No.
That is why it is good you telling us how this is actually a loan, because that's how government has always managed to increase the public debt, and the public is not aware,
It's
they keep
a loan.
They have given us funds, yet actually we are lending money.
Yeah, and in fact for you, the media, that's the language which you need to change. It's a loan. It's a loan. Don't say IMF has given us. It's a loan. So that means that we have, as Ugandans, have also a role to play in monitoring the usage of these resources, in ensuring that these resources are used prudently for the purposes that they are intended for.
And when we look at the physical deflect that has widened considerably, pushing the public debt close to 50%. Now, I think it's now already 50, because when the government projected that by the beginning of the financial year we will be 50
of our GDP.
Yes. How do you even wedge this?
It's you know, some people might say, some economists might say that we are still okay, and the whole issue was that, you know, our loans haven't gone, our debt hasn't gone beyond the 50% mark of the GDP. But I think, like you are saying, we have already reached that mark. But then also, for us as civil society and as Siatini, we consider the fact that if your obligations to repay, not even the loans, but servicing your debt, is higher than what you are spending on your people, higher than what you are spending on health, what you are spending on education, what you are spending on water, what you are spending on agriculture
and that is exactly
trade,
what's happening in then the country here.
Exactly. Then that debt becomes unsustainable. And for me, I think we have reached that level of I think our debt is becoming unsustainable. And I think as a country, we need to reconsider that, to be able to sit back and be able to say, what do we do? Because, you know, when you get into a tight corner, most Ugandans are now in a tight corner when it comes to COVID. We are not earning as we used to earn. So life can't remain the same, you know. You can't start buying the same kilos of meat you used to buy.
Definitely.
You know, you can't say, oh, I go to RITAH and borrow some money so that I continue the same lifestyle. But my worry is that Ugandans, the government has continued the same lifestyle. When you look at the administration burden, the members of parliament, it
has even increased.
It has exactly. It has even increased.
What should Ugandans worry about, especially in the business sector, now that government is even going ahead to borrow domestically? What should be the worry?
You know, this loan, in a way, one of the areas they wanted to address is the borrowing domestically. And as you can see, it's a huge loan. So there are at least that will help government not to borrow on the domestic market, and that will enable our local private sector to be able to access funding from the local banks.
Okay.
So in a way, that's a plus about this loan.
We appreciate the plus, but how can government make sure that this is effective? This is effectively applying to different sectors. From you, which sectors do you think can be considered very fast with this loan here?
You know, Rita, before the COVID pandemic, we were facing the challenge of the economy. The economy was moving, you know, but it wasn't as vibrant as
earlier, before COVID-19.
So now COVID just made it worse. So I think it's very, very important that while we are firefighting the COVID, you know, looking for vaccines, the oxygen, that's firefighting. But we need, like the saying goes, we need to walk on two hands. Do the firefighting, but also look at, plan for the future for the economy. Government needs to resuscitate the economy. It's really, really battered. And I think this loan should also be used effectively to ensure that money goes into the real economy. That's agriculture, that's industry, adding value, ensuring that their incomes at household and at national level, exactly, that we increase our exports, that, there are so many things which as a government need to sit and be able to say, how do we put our house in order so that we can generate resources and so that we can be paid back this loan, and also the other loans we have.
On that particular note, are you saying that government, the government has the National Development Plan 3, should inject more money in the National Development Plan, because it's the one maybe targeting like agricultural sector when we have the PDM, the development model?
Yeah, but when you say, anyway, the National Development Plan is the guiding framework, and you're right to say the plan is there. So we need to extract what are those key areas in that plan where we should be putting a lot of our resources. But when you look at, I was looking at the budget cuts, The
40% that the ministry is going to be cutting.
The cutting, so that they get the 600 billion.
Especially injected onto COVID-19.
Which is okay, because it's life first, without life, what else are you working for anyway?
I do agree, Ms. Jen, but look at what's happening now in the country. IMF is also frontlining COVID-19 in the country. We have got the World Health Organization giving out vaccine and the World Bank vaccination approvals, and we have got the 600 billion being borrowed again to go to COVID. Why am I feeling that maybe there is going to be a time when COVID-19 or the COVID-19 situational health is going to be taking a lot of participation and leaving other
areas. Yeah. There is a word.
How do we balance?
Exactly, Rita. That's the word. We need to balance. COVID is here to stay, by the way. I don't think it's going out anywhere.
We have to live like London saying they have to live with COVID-19.
Yes, we have to live with it, But then if we are to live with it, then we need to balance, Exactly. For me, my word again, like yours, is that we are putting money, people are swimming in COVID money, and that's why we are seeing all these challenges of accountability, issues of transparency, So we should fight COVID, but in a prudent way, in a prudent manner, but also balance. For example, there are still other diseases. People still die of AIDS, in Rakai, people are dying of TB, the health centers, women, women are still
from hospitals.
Exactly.
During childbirth.
So, there are so many other diseases, and our health system, generally can't handle. In fact, that's why we are having such problems when it comes to COVID. And remember when they said that each district, there is no movement from,
crossing to the other districts.
Some districts didn't even have hospital, health facilities to talk about.
A Center 3, a Center 1.
Exactly.
So they cross over to the other districts to get health care. So now they are bound onto that.
So we need to look at the entire health system, and then be able to look at the economy.
And how best do you think government can strengthen governance and budget transparency, like we're saying, because it is key in fostering public sector efficiency while preparing grants for a lot of management, like we're saying in health, we have education, people are home sitting, we have taxation. How can it streamline the balance? What exactly needs to be done, or how can it engage in?
When it comes to issue of strengthening governance and transparency, I think where we need to start first is the political will. Political will. Unless there is a political will, to ensure, to enforce transparency, prudent use of resources, then it might be difficult to ensure that there is transparency and accountability.
And how can we do the political will? Changing politicians? What exactly do you intend to mean here?
For me, let me give an example. You know, when Uganda accessed the first loan from IMF, it was clear, and this is just an example, you know, government agreed that they would clearly, for example, in procurement, indicate, you know, the procurement methods, you know, who has procured the contracts and the beneficial owners, you know. But when you look at the Auditor General's report, what came out, you know, but nothing has been done, you know. It's business as usual. And now we are getting more funds, the 600 billion, the what, you know, putting into a system
that has not assessed the previous allocations.
And even put people to task. You know, we haven't seen heads rolling, you know, that there is a problem. No, but we are injecting more resources. And that's what I call political will. Because at the end of the day, even if you put systems in place, laws in place, regulations in place, but nothing is done, then things will continue to be the same.
You know, as of yesterday, Madam Jen, there was a letter of circulation from His Excellency, the President, an alleged report that he's changing actually contracts from these contractors that we've been having, and now the UPDF will be taking on the construction, you know, of contracting construction processes. Are you saying that could be a right track of curbing the initial corruptions in such areas, in case that happens to be right and correct?
Yeah, there are so many ways of skinning a cat, like they say, but there are better ways of skinning cats. Okay. And for me, I think if there is a system in place and the system is not adhered to, those people who haven't adhered to that system should be brought to book. Instead of saying, okay, leave those ones, let us put, you know, other people in that place, you know, because how do you guarantee that now these ones are holy? Because all of us, you know, individuals, human beings, we are corruptible. You know, given a chance. It's the systems and laws which keeps us in the narrow path, on the narrow path, you know. So if somebody can't be on that narrow path, don't expect anybody to
come and follow them unless you hold the other previous
accountable to what has been agreed on. And for me, that's what I call governance, you know, strengthening governance. People have to be accountable, and it has to be seen that people are being accountable. Because, for example, you look at people today, I doubt whether so many people can be able to collect money for COVID. Even those people can be able to afford to say, okay, let us, you know, have a pool of resources like we did the first time, you know, and that's putting doubts.
I think they are very on a low percentage because the trust is lost. You heard yesterday from the Ministry of Health when Honorable Ruth Acheng could not fully account for the purchases they made earlier. And the COVID-19 vaccination.
Exactly. That's
Isn't this
trust
pushing the country more behind? Where are we going with this? What do you think needs to be done in such an environment? Okay, when you hold someone accountable, Madam Jen, and they do not tend maybe to respond to your expectations, in this case, what should be done?
What do you mean? If somebody has done something wrong, what do? Prosecute them. Show the public, show Ugandans that something is being done. You know, investigate. You know, and we are not saying people are guilty until, you know, proven.
All these are allegations.
People are innocent until proven guilty.
People
not guilty, not you know, they are people are innocent. So prove. let it be seen.
We still await, Ugandans honestly still await for that accountability from the Ministry of Health. But moving on, Madam Jen, let's go to stimulus packages that are now the government is giving out. There has been a list that has enrolled on different districts, at least some few districts that have received COVID-19 relief funds. How have you come around the list? How do you rate the allocation? How do you weight the allocation of these stimulus packages? Again, they are mostly considering COVID-19, like we said earlier, but we have got stimulus packages that have still been kept on pushing, like SMEs. Why is there an imbalance? Is this fair allocation?
You see, they have been in place different stimulus packages which government has put in place. For example, for, like you are saying, the MSMEs to access, credit at a lower interest rate. Yes. But like we pointed out, there have also been challenges with those packages. What we are saying, some of the packages can't be accessed by MSMEs. For example, the funds which we are putting, UDB, how many MSMEs?
They were at 14% actually.
But and also the limit of 10 million, is it 100 or 10 million? 100 million for people who want to access.
It was 100 million. It's 100 million. 100
million. So how many MSMEs can be? And also when you look at all the other conditionalities, there are so few MSMEs that could have stated that. But what we understand that government has now put those monies in, is it Post Bank and Stand Big? We need to find out that, But again, it's really important for government when they are putting those stimulus packages in place to be able to assess and see what other conditionalities can the MSMEs access those loans. And like you talked about the sectors, what are those key sectors which should be where government should provide the money? For example, issues of agro-processing, because agro-processing is very important as it provides a market for the raw agricultural products.
And also talk about the process, budget processing from government and maybe government budget plannings, how it makes its own plan. Just allocating money to a certain district for not even giving certain reasons that this money is doing this. Like Rukunjiri district, we had a story in the morning which has been allocated around, is it 17 billion this morning for COVID relief, like not specifically allocating what the money or the breakdown. Is it fair? Can government actually break down this allocation, or the breakdown can be done at the district level? Which one is better?
You see, COVID is an eye-opener for government. COVID has brought to light a number of areas which we need to address. In fact, we should be, as government, as a people, as Ugandans, we should be learning from this COVID pandemic, and we should be able to put systems in place. And one of them is the way we do our planning. Because, for example, even when you look at the entire budget process, government knew that there is COVID. But when you look at the budget, the budget before this reallocation, the way it was,
how it budgeted for COVID situation.
No, it was the way the budget. Health. No, the way the entire budget was put in place. It was the same. On top, repayments, security, like it was business as usual.
Security, wages.
Like it's business as usual. Okay. But we have COVID. Then within, not even a month,
It was actually after 2 weeks. It was after 2 weeks when they
they sit and we reallocate, you know. So that kind of planning, we need some long-term planning. And that's why what you are saying, money going everywhere without a clear plan. And you know, Rita, like the saying goes, if you don't know where you want to go, exactly, that I want to go to Stand Chart. From here, when you are walking, you say, I want to go, I'm going to Stand Chart. You go to Stand Chart. But if you say, I'm going to town, any destination will be good enough.
Someone finds you on the way and just tells you, give me a push, and
and we do that, women. Give me a push, and you give a push. So I think
do you intend to say that our budget processing in the country is not mainly focused? Is not focused?
Yes, we need to focus. We need to clearly know, that this is our destination. That when it comes to agro processing, this is what we want to attain. Then you work backwards. You put monies towards that. But I think we are firefighting, and the policies and actions which you use when you are firefighting are not those actions which you use to grow the economy, and we are missing that, that we need to grow the economy. The economy is aiding.
I strongly agree. And speaking of agro-processing, let's bring in the development model, the parish development model, the government initiative. You have been advocating for, transparency for this model, ranging in from the money allocated being less to each, at least of the parish taking 30 million. That is very less compared to how many villages, even the government not considering the inequalities that these different parishes have. How far have you gotten any feedback from government?
That the entire,
or any transparency, have you met any yet?
No. That the entire issue around the parish model, that the principle is good, that government is going at the parish. But to do what?
Okay.
What are you going to do at the parish level? And for me, I think before you come up with a model, you need to appreciate what's the problem. What's the problem you want to solve, to address? Because in the parish model, they are saying they are going to bring people together, those who are rearing pigs, those, for what? Because you see,
to give them
that's not English, by the way. I for what? What for?
What for? It's okay correcting yourself as we move on. Maybe to bring together the circles in there. But again, the money isn't enough really, according to the initial dialogues you were having.
Exactly. You see, any model should address a certain challenge. The challenge when it comes to production and to trade in Uganda is that we have markets on the one hand and we have production on the other, and the two are not meeting at all. So people produce not for any market. So you end up, consumption is not consumption. Who is consuming and at what cost? Because when we talk about trade, we are talking about a product, a specific product, with a specific standard and a specific market. But today, they are telling us we are going to go to the parish model to ensure that people produce
the 14
commodities
that have been
but
given
for what
priority.
market? And then they will tell us there is a market, because we are negotiating the Continental Free Trade Area. We have a Goa market, we have EU market, So we have those markets and we have this production here, but the two are not meeting at all. That's why when you look at our products which will go to Europe, Europe said, what you are bringing here, we don't want
not of
that.
Quality or quantity?
The quality is not good at all. And sometimes we miss also on quantity. When you look at our products, there is a time when we used to send sesame, sim. to EU said, this standard is not good.
Stones.
Chia seeds to Germany. Germany said, this is not good.
So our products have been declined in these markets.
So what we need, any model, if we are to ensure incomes at household level, to ensure that as a country we export, we need to link that to ensure that these people at the grassroots, at the parish level, are producing a product in terms of quantity, in terms of quality to a specific market. For example, if we say want to take our maize to Kenya, you saw what happened. Aflatoxins and
bounced back. The maize was bounced back in the country.
Let us make sure that we produce maize, of that quality. And that's where UNBS comes in. The issue of quantity and quality is very, very important. So if the parish model is going to do that, be able to bring together,
So you're calling for engagements of all implementers coming together to come up with policies that can, help us reach out the market goals.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let us work together. Ministry of Trade looks for the market. And the market specifies the standard that if it's sesame, I want white. Don't put in black and brown and no. So
that we know what we are going to be producing.
So Ministry of Trade negotiates the market, UNBS works on that. Then the parish model ensures the production to that market. So those are the value chain. The entire value chain should be developed to ensure that we produce and we satisfy those markets. So and for me, when we are looking at firefighting the COVID pandemic, then we need to look at our trade, our production, put money in the real economy. Again, I was saying that COVID has taught us, and I hope we learn lessons. For example, like now, government is looking at funds. The other COVID wave, they gave maize and beans. But government was just buying. Government has to have reserves. Countries have food reserves. We don't have, So
do you think government has learned this time from the first lockdown or pandemic we had?
No.
We have not learned a lesson.
No, we haven't. Because if we had learned, there would be something to be being done. For example, you could hear about food reserves and to ensuring that we produce. I don't hear that.
But has also, when you look at the model still on the PDM, has government observed the issue of inequality in terms of geographical location, the imbalance in there? Don't you think that there has at least to be specific areas producing specific foods, because Western Uganda is not on the equal lane with Northern Uganda. What we produce in Northern Uganda probably is not what is produced in the Northern Uganda. How can you advise government onto that kind of balancing in regards to produces, maybe looking at specific regions to produce specific kind of food?
But for what? Because at the end of that day, because you see, the moment we concentrate on production without the markets, we are putting those people
have to focus on the market.
In the market.
Your whether it's
market, produce for a market. Because what's happening today, the small scale producers produce, and if there is no market, then you are subjecting them to poverty. Okay. Take an example of the pineapples. Look at the pineapples. The small scale producer producing pineapples, and you buy 10, 15 pineapples for 10,000. Because there is no organized market. Because if you are buying RITAH, you are buying it and you are just saying, put them in the back, 10 for 10,000. You know, how much is that? How much is that small scale producer getting? Will you be able, RITAH, to go and start growing pineapples? Or any young person to buy pineapples
at all.
I'm not inspired. You know,
but also, you know, let us try to be fast on this one. Let's address the issue of taxation in the country before we leave. Before actually I let you go. Looking at the taxes that have come on board, the new ones, starting with the levy, the 7% on the fish maw. This is a new product. Not even 4 years of production of exportation. Not even 5 years. The 7% just as an initial start to levy on the fish maw. Not only on the fish maw, the general taxes, the 12% on internet, are these taxes bound to bring justice to Ugandans? Oh,
you know, a taxation, you judge a tax by where does the government want to go, you know, because a tax is a tool. It's a development tool to be able to direct development, because tax is also beyond revenue. So some taxes might be for revenue, because for example that's 7% more fish maw, which is okay because it's on a profit. You are exporting, you are getting a profit. Pay something on your profit. On gold, you know, there is a tax on gold, which was long overdue. You are exporting, you are getting a tax, a profit on that. But there are other taxes, for example, which we call regressive. For example, on fuel, you know, fuel.
The 100 added?
Yes, the 100 added, yeah. Because that means that the repercussion are bound on all of us, whether you are rich or poor, you know, that's an indirect tax. You look at the tax on the data, you know, that's
the internet
data, yes, 12%. That's not fair, because everybody is paying that, you know,
regardless of your input,
income. And then here we are saying that e-commerce, e-trade is the way to go. Young people are trading like this online, you know. So government shouldn't be discouraging that, because there is a feeling that internet is people making lugambo, but it isn't. People are making money. So government should, instead of taxing that data 12%, they should go online, get capacity to be able to tax online businesses. And there are so many big businesses, the Amazon, the Ubers, they are making money there.
So it should have taxed
the businesses, not the data.
Okay. What is your conclusion remarks, or what is your take from the discussion this morning as we conclude?
My take really...
Or your appeal?
Okay, my appeal to government is to be able to think long term also. While we are fighting this COVID pandemic, firefighting, we need also to think long term, you know, think about the economy, think about strengthening the health system, but also put systems in place. We need systems. We need to reorganize our economy. We need to ensure that the regional trade is working, you know, open up the border with Rwanda. You know, we need to think, you know, what is going to happen in 2 years' time to our economy. Look at the taxes. Let us harmonize our taxes regional. Let us not look inwards. You know, when you have a problem, you tend to look at the problem, I'm dying, you know. But let us look inwards, but also look outwards. Look in the future and see that we create jobs, we resuscitate the economy, people have incomes at national and at household level.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us again. A very great one. And if you just joined in, we've been having Jen Nalunga, the ED at Siatini, to discuss and analyze government policies on different locations, that is ranging from taxation and different sectors, and also a talk on the IMF fund, and that is a loan actually given to Uganda to curb the coronavirus pandemic and also help in different sectors. And that is it. And now we go in for our news updates, and sports will be coming up there. This is SMB. Good morning.